In this update video, I'm going to be combining the last 2 to 3 weeks worth of work that I've been doing in the garden, including potting up to the final pot sizes in both the greenhouse as well as the polytunnel. And we're going to be doing a bit of an update on the Mozambican beast that's in the hydroponic system in the grow shed. And of course, we're going to be doing an update on the ChilliChump Seedkit. And I have a bit of a surprise, bit of news about that right at the end of this video, so stick around till then. And there's a bunch of other stuff going on in this video too. I'll be showing you my soil mix, I'll be showing you how to harvest vermicompost, so quite a lot to get through. Let's get started so we can try and get through it all. This year inside the polytunnel, I will be running a bit of an experiment. Last year I grew my chilies directly in the raised bed, so in the soil, and this year you can see what I'm going to be doing. You can see that I have these pots partially submerged into the soil, and I will be filling those up with my potting mix, the same potting mix I'm going to use in the greenhouse. And I'm going to do the same on that side as well. Now, to compare the growth, I'm going to plant some chilies directly in the soil in the middle bed, so we'll be able to see a bit of a comparison. Last year when I grew directly in the soil inside the polytunnel, I had varying success. Some of my plants actually did pretty well, but the majority were not as successful as the ones inside the greenhouse. So it's going to be interesting to see at the end of the season, or through the season, how they are going to progress. So just wanted to show you what I was going to do there. The next thing I need to do in here is set up the drippers, because there's a fewer plants than I had last year, so I had to take the pipe out at the end, and I'll just create a new dripper section so that it is sufficient for these 8 pots that are going to be on each side. Let's make some compost. The first thing we need to do is get a good quality compost. Now, when I say good quality, I don't mean expensive. I mean just a plain old compost. It could have things like manure in there, that's no problem, or even your homemade compost, that's perfectly fine. And I would use my own compost, but this year I wasn't able to make enough of it, so I had to buy in some. So I've got a good quality compost, no extra additives in there, any water retaining elements or anything like that, just plain old compost. Then we need those 2 elements over there, perlite and vermiculite. Then over here we have some Epsom salts, so just a touch of Epsom salts into the mix as well is going to really help the plants out. And then the last ingredient, it's my worm compost. So I'm just gathering it. I have to leave it out in the sun like that for a little bit, just so the worms can dig down and I can scrape off from the top. This mix is good not just for your pepper plants, but for pretty much any vegetable plants. This will do fantastic. This here is a beautiful cayenne that we are about to pot up to its final pot size. We can see that it already has some peppers coming through. Very excited to get itself growing, it looks like. But a question I get asked quite frequently is, when should you be potting up to the final pot size? So here we can see at the bottom, these roots have all started poking out. That's a good sign that you need to go up to the next pot size. And if you go to a pot size this big, what's going to happen is this is going to go a bit dormant. This plant is going to stop growing. Right now it's about 3 times as high as the pot itself, and it's probably going to just stay dormant for a little while until the roots have established themselves in this new pot. Effectively, your plant is not going to get any bigger. It's not going to be able to absorb as much sunlight because there's not going to be as much greenery. So it's a bit of a balancing act. If you go to a 3 or 4 or 5 litre pot next, then it gives it time to spread its roots. So it'll take like a couple of weeks to spread its roots. It'll start hitting the sides, and then this will start just growing like crazy. What I'm going to do now is going to put it on pause for maybe 3 weeks to a month before you'll start seeing growth again from these plants. Now, I'm doing that purely because I just don't have time to do 100 plants from this pot size to a 5 litre, and then from the 5 litre to the 12 or 10 litre pots. These are 12 that I'm putting inside the polytunnel, but I don't have time to do that multiple times. I have enough going on at the moment. Let's have a look at the root system here as well. Look at that. That is perfect. Root bound, just what you want to see. Some people will go and tweeze this apart a little bit. I don't do that. The roots will do their own thing and the plant will do just fine. There you go, the KN is done and ready to go into the polytunnel. So obviously my plants are all at different phases of growth, and we can see this one here is still quite small. It's not even the same size as the pot yet in terms of the height. And there are some roots coming out the bottom, but just barely, not a lot like we saw in the previous plant. So what I'm going to do with this, because again I do not have time to do this 2 weekends in a row, I'm going to be potting up everything today, but I'm going to do something a little bit different with these. So with this one here, what I'm going to do is I've potted it up so it's ready for me when I am ready for this plant to actually come out of the smaller pot. It's already done. So I'm going to leave it inside this pot in here, which means I can use the dripper in here as well. I don't need to water these all individually. And when I am ready to go, I just take this out and take the pot away from the plant, put the plant directly in the soil. But this is ready to go now. I'm going to leave it exactly like that, at least for the next couple of weeks until this gets a bit bigger. If you've been following my videos, you'll know that last year I crossed a couple peppers, my lemon drop and peri peri. And this year I tried to grow out the seeds from that, and unfortunately I had a bit of a problem in the beginning of the season, but I'm going to be starting a few more today. So I've got a few more of these seeds left, probably about 60 or so, and I'm going to plant quite a few more today and try and get some to germinate so that we can plant it into our hydroponic system. I'm going to be using the same system that I'm using at the moment for my Mozambican chili, so the one that's a real beast at the moment, and I'll use the opportunity to obviously show you how I built that system. So let me go and get some of these into some tea so we can get them to scarify and then put them inside our system so that we can get them to germinate. These are the plants that I'm going to be putting inside my large hydroponics bed inside the greenhouse. You might notice these obviously are in soil. So I'll show you what I'm going to do to clean these off, get them ready to put inside the hydro bed. These ones aren't exactly going to be too simple to do either because it is very root bound. I'm going to be ruining a few of these roots, but it should recover. It's not ideal. These baskets shouldn't have these plants in for so long. But this here is my Mozambican chili. We can see that we have some chilies on there. So I'm going to try and be as gentle as I can and just take this out. Oof, I really don't like doing this. Okay, so we can see we've lost a few, but we should be all right. I'm going to go and put this directly into the hydroponics bed and let it get settled, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do with the plants that are inside the soil. So for this, all we're going to do is take it out of the pot, and let's have a look at that lovely root system. This is my Bendigo. You can see there, it's not entirely root bound, but there's some lovely roots on there. And all I'm going to do is take my hose and just wash off all the dirt. Pretty much as simple as that. We'll just do it on that side as well. So there you go, there are the roots. And still a bit of dirt on there. I'll pick off a little bit of it as I can, But this is going to go into the hydro bed now and hopefully should recover. It's going to be in a bit of shock right now, but I think in a few days' time it should be just fine. Let's go have a look inside the polytunnel and see how the plants are doing. So we can see that they're all upright still, nothing's died just yet. So that's all good news. And there's some new growth on quite a few of them. Today's a bit of an overcast, colder day, but we've actually had some decent weather over the last couple of weeks. Now I'm going to focus in on that plant over there because that's the only one I have a little bit of a concern about. Not too much of a concern though. Let's go have a look. So this is the one that came out of the hydroponics system, and I planted it directly into soil. Now we're going to have a look inside the greenhouse in just a little while, and you'll see that when you do it the other way around, taking it from soil, putting it into hydroponics, you actually don't have as much of a problem. But we can see here this has got quite a bit of drooping going on, but I'm not overly concerned because there is some new growth coming through, and there's still quite a few healthy leaves on this, so it looks a little sorry for itself right now, but it will improve over the season. What's happening is you're taking this plant out of its nice cozy hydroponic solution, which is set at a constant sort of temperature, and then you're suddenly shoving it into soil where the temperature is up and down all the time, and it doesn't have free access to the nutrients as it did in the hydroponic system. So it's going to be a little bit upset about that, but like I say, it will recover, and I'm sure that we'll have a lovely bushy growth in not too long. Let's have a look at a couple of the others. We can see here the Maruga chocolate, beautiful, just branching out everywhere. We can see there it's splitting over and over and over, so this is going to be a lovely big bushy plant. You can see down there a lot of new leaves, a lot of new growth, so really happy about that. And these as well, I mean, most of these are doing really well. They'll really start shooting up in the next couple of weeks. We are still going through some nighttime temperatures of about 5 or 6 degrees maximum. I believe tomorrow night we're going to have a minimum of 1 degree Celsius, so that's not good. But over here we can see the apple canby, sweet apple canby. We already got some peppers coming through on there, and there's quite a few peppers on some of my plants in the greenhouse, but that one there I'm quite keen to try out. They look like a very tasty pepper when I looked it up online. Let's have a quick look on this side. This is growing quite big quite quickly, and yeah, it's looking quite healthy. I need to get rid of those weeds at the back there. And let's have a look through here. The cayenne are really keen this year. We can see that we have quite a few of these. I'm sure we're going to have some ripe ones in the not too distant future, probably the next update video or maybe the one after that. We'll definitely have some ripe cayenne. You can see there's another one over there. And over here, purple butcher oak here. So I took it out of the pot. So if you remember, I potted it inside this big pot, but still inside its small pot. And I took it out of there probably about 4 or 5 days ago and put it directly into the soil, and it seems all right. It seems like it's doing all right. Still needs to grow quite a bit, but I'm sure it'll play catch up quite quickly. And you can see the other plants down there all looking good. Let's go have a look inside the greenhouse and see how those plants are doing. It's so nice to see green inside the greenhouse again. The dead plants in there for the last few months was a little bit depressing, but they're looking good, they're looking healthy, nice color on the leaves, and I am very happy with the progress so far. But we'll take a look through and see how the individual plants are doing. Let's start over here. These are grouped together as most of my super hots. I have other super hots as well, but here we have things like the Maruga chocolate. There is a 7-pot Primo back there. And what's this one? Another 7-pot Primo. They've both grown quite nicely in the last couple of weeks. And back here, I think, is that another? No, that's a 7-pot Habanero, a lovely pepper as well. So these are looking good. A little bit lighter than I would like over there, but I've just started with a light feed. Normally I wait quite a while before I do any sort of feeding because there's normally quite a lot of good nutrients in the compost that I use. Over here is my cayenne. I have a few cayenne this year, but we can see the same as in the Polytunnel. There are a lot of chilies coming through already, so very early on. And here's another one over here with a few less, but still. And over here, another one. This cayenne is quite dark stems, so it's like almost a purple. So I don't think that really makes much of a difference. That one there is a bit purple as well. And then back there is my Piri Piri. None have come through just yet on there, but I really don't expect it this early on in the season. And over here is another Piri Piri. I've basically got 3 Piri Piris here, so there's one there, one at the back, and one over here. And then there's a cayenne, and cayenne. Let's have a look at the hydroponics bed. So something's eating these. I need to give them a bit of a spray. It's not too much damage just yet, but I really need to keep an eye on that. But like you see in the Polytunnel, when you take a hydroponics plant and put it in the soil, it doesn't fare as well as taking soil plants and putting them in hydroponics. These guys are doing really well. Actually, they are doing really, really well. This one here is looking fantastic. This is my cayenne. Lots of new growth. Cayenne. Lots of new growth coming through there, down the bottom and also all the way up the top. Over this one here is a Serrano, and a lot of new growth coming through there as well. A Piri Piri and a Bendigo, and then of course that was a hydroponics anyway. That's my Mozambican chili, and plenty little chilies coming through there. Really looking forward to trying these. I'm wondering how they're going to compare to my Piri Piri, because these are a little bit bigger than my Piri Piri, I think, especially when you look at one over there. But we'll be doing a testing video for that for sure. Over here, just a bunch of herbs that my wife is actually growing. We've got a wall garden we're going to be putting these in, so keeping an eye on those. Some of them have come through and some of them we're still waiting. Yeah, I'll be using some of those in some of my sauces, I'm sure. And over here we have a couple more Piri Piri. We have some Hawaiian Yellow Lantern at the back there. That one there is an Ahi Lemon Drop. And at the back over there is a Violet Sparkle. And that Violet Sparkle looks like it has some chilies on. Over here is the ChilliChump Seedkit. So these plants are doing well. The Ancho Poblano is doing really well. We already have some peppers coming through. I know a lot of people pull their peppers off in the early season. I don't. I've already talked about why I don't, but that was in the last video, so if you want to check that out, you can see my thoughts on that. But I'm just letting these go and just see how big they get, and the plant will keep on growing, and we'll see some lovely nodal growth like this, where there's new branches coming out of these nodes. I'm sure this will be a nice big plant. Over here is another Ancho Poblano, bit of a smaller one, but I'm sure that will turn out to be a nice size as well at the end. There's the Turbo Pube. It's a beautiful plant. I don't know if you can make out on the video, but those leaves are a little bit furry, hence the name Capsicum pubescens. That's the family of these, but the leaves themselves are a little furry. And the back there, that is my Ahi Crystal. It's looking pretty. And at the back on the right is my Jalapeno Mammoth. Nothing coming through yet, but that plant is looking set to be a nice big bushy plant, so I'm happy with that. Let's have a look over here. So these two trays, this one over here and the one at the end over there, those have 8 plants in them. All the rest have 6 in my 10-litre pots. I believe these are 10 litres. So 6 on each of those trays. And then these ones here, I have 2 of the bigger pots in the middle there. So just the middle 2 over there. And then around the sides, that's 7.5 liters. 6 7.5 liters and 2 10 liters. Same over there as well. And that's just so I can have more plants, really. And some plants do much better in a smaller pot as well, although I haven't really paid too much attention to that this year. A couple of these I have, like the Dragon's Breath. This plant, I really want to push the growth a little bit. I'm more interested in getting some quality peppers off of it. I believe it is pretty much exactly the same as a Moruga Scorpion, but I stand to be corrected. What I'm being told by a lot of my friends in the community, that is the case. But I want a couple of really hot peppers off this for a bit of a testing that I want to do later on, which is going to burn the hell out of me. Well, there's a Dattel. There's a cayenne down there. That's one of my ChilliChump Seedkit cayennes, but just an extra one. I just want to have more cayenne, and that's why I put it in a small pot. I don't want it to take up a big pot space. We have another 7-pot Primo, so I did this because I just want to compare the growth of one in a 7.5 litre pot and the others in the larger 10 litre pots. Some plants do better in smaller pots, and of course some do much better in the bigger pots, like the Antep Achidama or the Ahidama. This one here is definitely one that needs a bigger pot. This plant gets huge and the fruits get pretty huge as well. There's a jalapeno, and over here we have a pepperdew. Lovely big old leaves. Pepperdew is always a pretty plant. Very tasty peppers as well. And over here is the MOA Scotch Bonnet. I wanted that in a bigger pot as well. I want to keep the seeds from this. I know that it's one of those seeds that can be quite difficult to get hold of. Buna Mulata, this is awesome. Check out this. Lots of these little purple peppers. They actually started out purple, so I don't know if this is focusing properly. Let me get that to focus. There we go. And you can see there that the actual pepper starts out purple. It seems to ripen to a bit of a green color, very backwards. But I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it. Maybe I just missed it in this green stage for the one that I saw, because this is the one here that I saw first, and it looks like it's been purple the whole time, every time I've come in here to check. But quite a pretty little pepper. Be interesting to taste that. So we'll see. I think actually, if I'm looking here at the smaller ones, they are starting off green, but they turn purple very rapidly. And at the back there's an Ahi Oro. So that plant right at the back corner, or back middle. Over here, another sweet apple Canby, same as in the Polytunnel. It's starting to put out some of its fruit, and I believe those get quite big. So we'll see. There's a few more over there coming through on those flowers. But that's it. That's in the greenhouse, all looking healthy, and really impressed with these. It's good to note that you can take soil plants and put them into a hydro system quite easily, and they'll recover and adapt quite easily. Not so much the other way around when you're taking hydro and putting it into soil. But hopefully the one in the Polytunnel is going to recover just fine, and we're going to get similar sort of growth that we're going to see on that one back there. So we've got one last plant to check out, and that is the massive Mozambican hydro plant. So let's go check that one out and then finish up this video. This is just such a beautiful plant, and you can see the growth in here. Hopefully you can see it. It's bright enough. But that is just stunning. The canopy is seeming to settle around about here, and that smells amazing. It's a very green smell. I'm using the extractor fan quite a bit. There's quite a bit of humidity in here, I can see on the walls, but the extractor fan does do its job. I will probably increase the frequency that it runs, but the plant isn't complaining too much. It actually needs a little bit of humidity to start setting fruit, and there's plenty of flowers, and I believe there are a few fruit on here already, but I just come in here every now and then and just give it a bit of a shake. Actually, you can see some fruit down there. There's one starting out, and there's quite a few others in here as well. The way I've been feeding it is more for the growth phase, not for the fruiting stage just yet. I'm shifting over to the flowering right now, or in between flowering and fruiting, and then I'll go full fruiting nutrients probably in the next 2 weeks. But we can see there are a few chilies coming through. I think this one will be quite full of chilies very soon, and I will be harvesting these seeds because obviously this is only one plant. Well, there's actually 2 plants in there, but because there's only one type of plant in here, they can only pollinate themselves. So I'm guaranteed that all of these are isolated, which means the seeds from it are going to produce the same plant, and I will be selling that on my store we'll see when we get some ripe chilies, but probably in the next month or 2. I'll do a bit of a review video on the chilies themselves, and probably we'll put them up for sale at that point. But beautiful, beautiful plant. Absolutely love it, and I can't wait to compare it to my own Piri Piri. Let's lastly have a look at our vegetable garden. We have corn in 3 rows, and they're spaced out about 50 centimeters, 45-50 centimeters in between each of the rows. And then in between those I have various squashes. So here's a butternut squash over there, we have some patty pan squash over there, and various other ones here. We also have some gem squashes, which are some of my favorite. We have quite a few of those actually. And let's go back to this one. So this over here, we have gem squashes, and we also have some patty pans. And what I want this to do is grow up around this archway. So you can see that on the other side I've also planted a few, and I'm really hoping that I'm going to be able to create a bit of an archway here that's going to have some squashes dangling from it. That would be pretty awesome. I've seen some pictures online that people have done that with entire tunnels, like all the way down. Looks pretty damn nice. And over here is my garlic that I planted at the end of the season, well, about November last year, and it's doing really well. I think I probably got about another month or 2 before that'll be ready to harvest. And over here we have a few other little things. There's some peas that I planted over here. Nothing's come up just yet, and those ones over there, there's some aubergine. I'm really hoping I get at least a couple aubergine or eggplant, whatever you call them. And over here, these here are some beetroot, and we can see that quite a few have come up. Just need to keep an eye on weeds, but those there, little beetroots, we'll just space them out over there. And then on this side of the garden we have some more squashes, and we also planted quite a few peas, which again not yet come up. I think that the weather needs to improve just a little bit before we get to that point, but over there the peas will be hopefully climbing up this, and same over there. But I've also planted some squashes all along the front. There's a couple of my extra corn that I had left over. I planted those there as well. This doesn't get as much sun as my main beds, but we'll see how it does. Hopefully we'll get at least a couple bits of corn off there. And here are some more gem squashes, and I think that's another gem squash. And I'm also trying to grow some Inca berries over there. They're still kind of alive. You can see a little bit of green over there, but we'll see if that actually does anything, because they're quite young when I put them in. One last vegetable I'm going to show you is my artichoke. I planted this about 3 years ago, and we finally have a head developing that I'm sure is going to be edible in a month or 2's time. So I'm really proud of that. Last year I had a head develop, but it wasn't really edible, and pretty much let it go to flower. And we have a couple of the smaller ones here as well. A really pretty little plant, but really tasty as well, with a bit of butter. I've been getting some serious artichoke envy from a channel I watch called Dave's Allotment. He has some of the biggest artichoke bushes I've seen. He is a really funny guy. I'd recommend going and checking out his channel. He's a great gardener as well. But there's my artichoke bush, and like I said, really proud of that one. In the beginning of the video I said that I had a little bit of a surprise around the ChilliChump Seedkit, these plants over here. And what that is there's a camera up above me over here that is taking snapshots throughout the day. And I'm doing that obviously for a time lapse that I'm going to have at the end of the year that I'll put out. And I actually put out a couple time lapses from my 2019 season just a couple of weeks ago. So go check those out. I really do enjoy time lapse. It's nice seeing the progress over such a short period of time. But what I'll also be doing with that camera is every morning at 7:45 a.m. GMT, I will be taking a snapshot and uploading that photo to my website so that you guys can go and check what the progress is like for that day. And there's a drop down in there as well, so you can select previous days as well. And I thought it'd be quite fun for you guys to be able to compare the progress of your plants with mine in between me updating you on these update videos. So go have a look and let me know what you think. Also, if you are wanting to post up your progress pictures on Instagram or Facebook, make sure to use the hashtag CCSK 2020, so ChilliChump Seedkit 2020. And I'm trying to figure a way how to feature those pictures on that page as well. I'm still working on it. There's a few technicalities that I need to get through. Anyway, that's it for this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you learned a couple things, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, stay safe and stay spicy.